Hello, everyone. My name is Jackson Connolly, and today we will be talking about the Manhattan Project and its impact. The Manhattan Project began in response to one of history's most urgent fears that Nazi Germany was developing an atomic weapon. In 1939, physicist Albert Einstein and Leo Szilard warned President Franklin D. Roosevelt that recent discoveries in nuclear fission could lead to a powerful new bomb. This warning led to secret U.S. program officially launched in 1942. General Leslie Groves oversaw the military side, while J. Robert Oppenheimer directed the scientific research. Together, they coordinated thousands of scientists and engineers across facilities in Los Alamos, Oak Ridge, and Hanford. The mission was clear: build an atomic weapon before the Axis powers did. What began as a race of survival soon became one of the most transformative and morally complex projects in modern history. The scientific breakthrough that made the Manhattan Project possible came from Enrico Fermi and his team at the University of Chicago. On December 2nd, 1942, they achieved the world's first controlled nuclear chain reaction, proving that atomic energy could be released in a sustained and measurable way. This moment, recorded in the Manhattan Project notebook preserved by the National Archives, represented the transition from theoretical physics to real-world weapons science. Fermi understood the magnitude of what they had done. They had unlocked the power of the atom, but also opened the door to unimaginable destruction. Even in the excitement of discovery, there was an undercurrent of moral unease that would only grow as the project advanced. Secrecy defined every aspect of the Manhattan Project. Entire cities were built in isolation, guarded by barbed wire and military patrols. Most workers had no idea what they were actually building. They were told only what their specific jobs required. This compartmentalization kept the project secure but transformed how science itself was practiced. As the National Park Service points out, this model of secrecy set the stage for future Cold War research and the rise of government controlled science. The free exchange of ideas, a cornerstone of scientific progress, was replaced by classified information and loyalty oaths. The Manhattan Project wasn't just about splitting atoms, it was also about splitting the world of science into open inquiry and national security. At the heart of the project stood J. Robert Oppenheimer, who was brilliant, driven, and deeply conflicted. As director of Los Alamos, he unified the efforts of scientists in working under extreme pressure and secrecy. But when the first atomic bomb detonated at the Trinity test on July 16, 1945, Oppenheimer's pride quickly turned to dread. Witnesses recall him quoting the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The Library of Congress archives reveal how Oppenheimer's later letters and interviews reflected deep remorse. He came to see his creation not as a triumph, but as a moral tragedy. After the war, he opposed the hydrogen bomb and called for international arms control, positions that cost him his security clearance, but defined his legacy as a scientist burdened by conscience. In August 1945, atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, bringing World War II to an abrupt end, but at a devastating human cost. Over 200,000 people, mostly civilians, were killed instantly or from radiation exposure. The National Park Service's paper, The History and Ethics Behind the Manhattan Project, highlights that many of the project's own scientists wrestled with guilt and regret after the war. Some believe the bombings were unforgivable moral failure. Regardless of perspective, the Manhattan Project forever changed the relationship between science and warfare, proving that progress and destruction could now exist side by side. The Manhattan Project's legacy extends far beyond the end of World War II. It created the model for massive government-funded big science projects, from space race to modern nuclear energy, but it also raised questions that remain unresolved. The Ethos Journal describes the project as both a symbol of genius and tragedy, a reminder that knowledge can empower or endanger depending on how it's used. Today, as new technologies like artificial intelligence and biotechnology advance at lightning speed, scientists continue to face the same dilemma. How do we balance innovation with moral responsibility? The lesson of the Manhattan Project still challenges us to think not only about what we can do, but what we should do. Now, before we end, I want to leave you with a few questions. Was the Manhattan Project ethically justified by its outcome? Would scientific openness have reduced or increased global nuclear risk? And most importantly, how has the relationship between science and government evolved since 1945? The story of the Manhattan Project reminds us that every discovery, no matter how brilliant, carries a human cost. Understanding that balance between progress and ethics remains one of the greatest challenges of our time. And thank you all for listening and watching. And I hope you all have a wonderful day.